You're listening to Through the Chair with Ben and Brian. Conversations that matter to our community.
Okay, so welcome to episode 2 of the Through the Chair podcast. I'm Brian O'Donoghue.
And I'm Ben Ward. Jumping straight in today, we need to do something that we forgot to do in episode 1, which is to tell you who we are and what we're doing here at all.
Yeah, literally as I got into the car last week and hit the start button and went, we did a whole episode and never actually said exactly, because there's no way people just know exactly who we are and how we got here. And to ease us into that, right, and to explain to people the nuances of this podcast, Ben, the generational gap between us, right? And
yes.
I'm going to ask you 3 cultural things.
Wow, okay.
And I want you to tell me, I should see what your response is. So if I said to you 3 characters, right? If I said Shadow, Chance and Sassy.
No idea. Should I know what that means?
So 3 characters in the movie: Shadow, Chance and Sassy.
No.
No ideas.
Scooby-Doo.
Okay, number 2. If I said Sanka, you dead?
No.
Sanka, you dead?
Sanka, you dead? Who's
Sanka.
that?
Right, okay. And last one, Daniel LaRusso. Who was Daniel LaRusso?
No idea.
I wonder, can we add in the cricket sound?
Yeah.
When that's good. Right, okay. So Shadow, Chance and Sassy is from Homeward Bound. You know the movie about the 2 dogs and the cat they go missing?
No.
And their voiceovers?
No.
You've never seen Homeward Bound?
Never.
Sanka, you dead is from Cool Runnings, about the Jamaican bobsled team.
Okay, I have heard of that.
You've heard of Cool Runnings, but never seen it?
Yes, I've never watched it though.
And Daniel LaRusso is the original Karate Kid.
Oh.
Have you seen the Karate Kid movies?
Yes.
You've seen them and you didn't know who Daniel LaRusso was?
Who is that? The kid?
Right. So anyway,
Anyway.
the point of that is to explain that there's a massive generational gap here.
Clearly a massive one.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that big, but anyway, so
Like when you go get your haircut, is the barber doing your eyebrows yet? No.
no.
That's coming.
Are they doing yours?
Absolutely.
I can't believe you admitted that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Brian, tell us a little bit. Who are you? Why are you here? How did you get here?
Right. I'm Brian. I am 38. Born and reared in Rathvilly. Went to school in Rathvilly, and went on to school in Tullow, and then massive GA fan all my life. Would like to say I was a player, but there are people who would refute that comment. Although I do have 2 Junior A Carlow championships, and I have 2 under-21 medals as well, just so you know. But anyway, finished Tullow, did a year in college here in Carlow in the Institute of Further Education at the time, and then went on to study journalism in Dublin, in Griffith College, and then spent about 8 years doing kind of radio and print and mainly sport, all sport really. And then in 2013 was approached to see what I'd be interested in getting involved in running for the council, because at the time I was doing a lot of volunteer stuff out in my own community, and I suppose maybe it would have been half well known, so was asked to run, and I ran, and here I am 12 years later. I'm married with a little girl, Isla, and a dog, little Bijan, called Ed. That's in a nutshell.
Yeah, and do you think doing the journalism and media side of things helped when you got into politics?
I suppose it helped in terms of you're constantly meeting people, and like when you're doing interviews and stuff with people after they've just lost a match and they could hate you, it was easy then to get ate on the doorstep when you're asking someone to vote for you, like, you know. But yeah, I suppose it probably was more so of a help, maybe in terms of speaking in front of a crowd at a public meeting or whatever, like, you know.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good grounding. But enough about me. What's your story?
Well, I remember the very first time that I ever got interested in politics whatsoever was during my leaving cert, which was 2021, I think, or 2020. Well, around COVID. And I remember there was this big whole controversy about, whether the Leaving Cert was going to go ahead, in what form. I don't know if you remember this whole debate. And ultimately we had a choice where we could get these predicted grades or do the Leaving Cert.
Yeah.
And now we'll let people in on a little secret here. I took all the predicted grades. So I did not sit the Leaving Cert. But nevertheless, I got my first choice in college. But I remember at the time thinking, right, who is making this decision? Because I was like, right, I'm the one sitting this Leaving Cert. And then I was looking at the news, and Norma Foley was the Minister for Education at the time. So she was making the decision, I guess, about the Leaving Cert, what form it would take. And I remember that was the very first time I ever contacted a politician or even thought about a politician. I said, all right, I am emailing Norma Foley here to tell her all about my views and how stressed we all are, the Leaving Cert and all the rest. And lo and behold, she never replied.
So you were radicalised.
So I was radicalised, and then I joined Fine Gael.
Oh, good man.
And then so I got that is actually what happened. I did join Fine Gael and got more interested in like young Fine Gael kind of more nationally. But then I kind of reached out to you, I think, at the time as well, which
we did a Zoom call,
and I got more interested then in the local kind of things.
We did one Zoom call and never heard from him again. That's a lie. But,
that is a lie.
But to tell us, you're born and reared Ballantrae?
Yeah, Ballantrae, but I went to primary school in Ballin, played soccer GAA there. I'm actually back playing soccer in Ballin now in Burn Celtic. Well, I had been there last season.
I thought you were after giving up soccer and playing pickleball for...
Well, that's my new summer hobby, pickleball. Well, I shouldn't call it a hobby. I should call it my pursuit of professional pickleball player, but okay. So, yeah, and then I guess from all that anyway, I decided to go study politics, philosophy and economics in college. So I did that for 4 years in UCD. And now I'm doing my master's in Trinity doing international politics. So, and I should mention, sorry, in between all of this was my car park campaign, my catalyst into local politics, where I went against my mentor, Councillor Brian O'Donoghue, my idol at the time. And
I'm not your idol.
Well, that was a Freudian slip there.
Jeez, that's it.
And so I went against you and I campaigned to save the car park in Tullow. But all jokes aside, it was actually a brilliant insight into local politics because, first of all, I got to understand things about how the council works, how to make decisions, because I was sending in petitions to the director of services, which I didn't know about director of services, and I was obviously emailing and calling the politicians as well, and because we have a business in the town, it was something that we were kind of more aware of, like people parking in there, and I'd be bringing down bags of roosters and things like that into their cars, which was close, and I didn't want that car park to get any further away because I'd be bringing 10 kgs to Super Value instead. But and
you mean rooster potatoes, not bags of roosters like the...
Oh, sorry,
like.
Just to be clear, that is potato language.
No, it's interesting you say about the car park. We could probably do there's probably a Netflix documentary in the car park.
That's a good idea.
But what was I going to say? No, it's funny you mentioned your first foray into politics was the Leaving Cert. I remember I was in one of the CSP classes in Tullow. The teacher invited me back in or whatever, and I was chatting to the students, and someone said, "Oh, did you always want to be in politics?" And at the time, on the day, I said, "Oh, geez, no, I never wanted to be." And I was telling one of my brothers that later on that day, and he was like, "Are you mad? You were president of the student union in Tullow Community School." And I was like, yeah, but that's not politics, But I suppose it was. Now, I think on the day of the actual vote, there was only 3 people turned up, and I won 2 votes to 1 or something.
A landslide victory.
Yeah, double his vote.
Yeah.
But and Jason, if you're listening, hello. But what was I going to say to you? He's actually a Ballon man. Would you believe?
Okay.
My good friend Jason Whelan.
But that was politics.
It was, yeah. And then in college, I ran for president of the student union there, but that was because I didn't want to leave college and I wanted to stay on and get paid to be.
Did you get it?
No, lost by 24 votes to a guy from Rain was his name, from Pakistan, and 24 votes. And there was 24 people in my class, but we were off on a Wednesday, and the vote was on a Wednesday, and my class weren't in to vote. Yeah, so. Yeah, so but it's you know what? It was no harm to have lost an election before. It toughens you up a lot. But so anyway, when people say to me, "We always interested in politics," I like in terms of national or party politics, no. But in terms of like what I ended up as president of the student union Tullow because at the time we had the school brought in these big boxes, right? And if you left your bag unattended, like in the airport, your bag would be confiscated and put in a box and locked.
Oh,
And you'd pay a fire to get your bag back.
wow.
Yeah, and at the time there was kids being put on internal suspension for the day if they weren't wearing a tie and all this kind of crack. So I was like, this is madness. So we campaigned to get. Wait, now did I campaign for the boxes or was it my predecessor? Was it my successor?
Well, you're going to claim it anyway.
No, she'll kill me. And she works at Fergal. Anyway, but it was interested in solving a particular problem, like you with the car park.
Yeah,
it was about trying to solve a particular problem, or you know, and I don't. And you're kind of the same. It don't like if you see an injustice or whatever, you don't mind kind of speaking up and going, no, hold on, like, there's something not right here.
Yeah,
let's fix it. Whereas I think sometimes groupthink can take over, and people accept.
That's exactly it. And like I always have to remind myself. Like, or a lot of the time I have to remind myself when we're talking about things in the council, and sometimes it's easier just to be like, I'm not going to say anything about that, or I'll just let that go. But you have to remember, right, what is the whole reason we're here is to, if you see something around you, in your community, in the country, in the world, whatever it is that you think is wrong, you to try and do something about it.
100%.
And like, I think both of us, whether it be about boxes for bags in the school or a car park in Tullow, it's that same basic idea, isn't it? About trying to use whatever position you can to try and change something.
100%. We might move on to the jargon jar. And for anyone who listened to episode 1, they would remember that the jargon jar is basically where if myself or Ben start using convoluted council language or any kind of non-layman's terms, were to put a mark against one another. I think it's 3-1.
3-1.
3-1. So I used 3.
You've 3, I've 1.
Yeah, I used 3 last day. Now, in your little prologue of yourself there was 2 or 3 that I'm going to let you away with because I'm fair.
Like what?
I said something about, I don't know. But
propaganda. Propaganda.
Anyway, so we still haven't come up with what the idea of the punishment should be at the end.
But I think we're going to let the people decide.
Yeah, maybe we will.
In all good democracies, the people should decide.
Exactly.
So let us know what you think the forfeit or the punishment should be for the person who uses the most jargon throughout the first season, at least, anyway, through the chair.
And in fairness, I think where our listeners might be a good help is if you're listening to this and you hear something that you kind of go, what in the name of God is that? Especially acronyms, which you mentioned last day. But if we say something that just seems completely ridiculous or council talk or whatever, just let us know and we'll retrospectively penalise the other with a mark for the jargon jar.
And speaking of things that sometimes people think are ridiculous because they probably don't know what they are or where they come from or why people are wearing them, which is chains.
Chains, okay.
So our first motions with notions today is about chains.
Okay. Now, when people hear chains, right? So depending on what part of the county or the country they could be in, like when you think, like the first thing you think of when you think of chains is like a chain around your neck for like a piece of jewellery, a chain for like I don't know, towing a tractor or something, or if you're a fan of Rihanna, remember that song. Whips and chains excite me. S&M.
Okay.
Yeah, no. that's not an acronym, but moving swiftly on from that kind of talk. Right. Chains of office. So if you've ever been at any kind of a public or social event and then this person arrives in and they're wearing a B.A. Baracus. Sorry, do you know who B.A. Baracus is?
No.
The A-team. I pity the fool.
The A-team, yeah.
And B.A. Baracus was B.A. Mr. T.
Oh, Mr. T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the 80s he was B.A. Baracus and he wore gold chains.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You see Mr. T walk into a function in Carlow.
And he's wearing a big chain. So a chain, now they can be big or small, but basically a chain with kind of links on it and a kind of a big
pendulum,
pendant.
Pendant
in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's a chain of office.
Yeah.
So a person gets a chain of office when.
Yeah. So I suppose first of all, it's kind of a ceremonial chain, which basically anyone who is well, in Carlow, there's 4 people who have chains,
Mm-hmm.
as far as I see. There's the Cahirlock of the council, which is the chairman of the county council. There's the Cahirlock of the Tullow MD, the Cahirlock of the Bagnestown MD, and the mayor of Carlow. So there's 4 chains. And basically, it's whoever is the chairman of each of the municipal districts. And I did say MD there. So to be clear, MD means municipal district, which is basically just an administrative area within the council.
Putting you down for 2 jargon marks there.
What's the other one? MD.
And then you said did you say jurisdiction or something?
No.
What word did you say? Administrative area.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't mean so. 2.
So yeah, basically the person who is the chairman for usually a year at a time can wear this chain because they are technically representing that area or the full council at official events, and I think that's
I suppose so. The Cahirlock, the chairperson of Carlow County Council is Carlow's first citizen. So in the same way, so if you're the Lord Mayor of Dublin, you get to live in the Mansion House. No, not the Mansion House.
yeah,
Is it Mansion House? No, Dublin.
Mansion House. Yeah,
No, is that the Mansion House? Is it the Mansion House?
I think so.
No, it's. Oh, it'll come back to me in a second. You get a state car, and it always has the registration. You know, it'll have 261D1, which is a lovely perk that they get. We don't get that in Carlow, but you are still you're the first citizen of County Carlow, and the only person in the country who can outrank you is the president if they're in the county. But even if the Taoiseach comes down, so like it's all about protocols and things. So if you're at an official event and the person is introducing the guests who are here, so you know, ladies and gentlemen, and then the order of who people should be, the order of people that should be listed out. So say if the Taoiseach is in Carlow, right, and so is a couple of ministers, and then you have TDs, whatever. The order should be Cahirlock, Taoiseach, Taoiseach, deputies, councillors, and so forth. I could be wrong. Maybe councillors should be before deputies. I'm not 100% sure, but deputies are TDs. So the chain of office is
Deputies. That is a piece of jargon.
absolutely not.
Deputies.
No,
No one knows what deputies mean.
I will end you. No, no, it's
That's
not.
a piece of jargon. Deputies.
No, I'm not. You're not marking me down for that.
You're on 4.
No, but go back, right? So, what are we saying? So, a chain of office is where you become chairperson of a particular area in the county or the county itself, and you get this chain of office that you wear to official engagements, and you wear usually at the council meeting as well. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, and speaking of chairpersons, they're the people that you have to speak through.
Yes.
As this podcast is called Through the Chair.
Through the chair. Yeah,
Whoever
right.
is wearing the chain, which is the chairperson of each area, they'll be chairing the meetings.
Yes.
So you have to speak through the chair. It's not an open debate between everyone who's sitting there. When you're speaking to the whole room through the chair.
Exactly.
Just for a reminder of where this comes from. But the reason we're talking about this in Motions and Notions is that one of our colleagues, Fergal Brown, has a motion in at today's council meeting, which we have later on, seeking, I suppose, clarification about the protocols around wearing chains, where they should be worn, how they should be worn,
and
etc.
I think maybe it would have been fair to ask him, but I think where he's coming from on this is at the moment when you go to an event, if the Cahirlock from the county is there, if the mayor of Carlow is there, if the Cahirlock from Tullow is there and the Cahirlock from Bagnestown is there, you're now at an event and there's 4 people wearing big fancy chains. Maybe the president of the Chamber of Commerce is there as well, and they have a chain of office. And actually the president of the Historical Society, I think, has a chain as well, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong there, my apologies. But the point being, you're in a room and nearly every second person's wearing a chain. So it's, how do you distinguish who actually should be entitled to wear a chain at a particular event? So in fairness to Fergal, I think what he wants is to in some ways take the pressure off the organisers, because if you're organising an official event, you don't want to have to be the one to say, oh, now I'm inviting Ben, he can wear his chain. And also to pause here, I know, and we know, there are more pressing issues than chains, but it is interesting, and to us anyway. But the amount Have you been a chair yet? Have you?
No, but I have got to
Deputised.
wear the chain a few times in the first year of when Fergal was Cahirlock, so I got to wear it sometimes. So yeah,
But did you notice when you wear it, like people do actually go, "Oh, the guy with the chain."
yeah.
It makes it. And if you go to New York, like
Yeah, yeah.
you might-
I've noticed it. Like I went to one event in Dublin where I had to wear the chain. It was I think it was an award ceremony for age friendly
Oh, yeah.
things around the country. And you know, people were coming up being like, "You are the youngest Cahirlock I've ever seen in my life." And I used to be like, yeah, I am a councillor, but you know, I'm wearing it for someone else. And they're like, "Oh, well, you're wearing it, so."
No, and I suppose up until that point, had you ever sort of appreciated the significance of it, like, or did it mean anything to you, like?
Well, no, I suppose not really.
Yeah,
You know, not that I had been at any events or anything before I became a councillor where councillors would have been there really, you know, wearing chains. But if they had, I wouldn't have known what it is.
Yeah.
I would have been like, who is this person wearing this chain? Like,
Absolutely.
Um,
No, and in fairness, the point of Fergal's motion is just to try and put some official protocol in place. So, because in fairness, if you are the chair of the whole county, and you're the Carlow's first citizen, you at an official event you should have, or you do have, an official stand-in. So if three other people arrive and they're also wearing chains, it for the guests who are going to be there, it's kind of like, oh, well, now, do people care about who's the highest ranking? No, but to respect the position of Cahirlock, it's no harm to have a protocol. So that when if the council put on an event, they can send out the invitation and say, in relation to, well, maybe they wouldn't put that on an invitation, but the point being that, like, should be a protocol in place,
yeah,
that we don't end up in a situation where there's like 5 chains and it completely takes from the person who has won the honour of being
exactly,
Cahirlock. Does that
yeah.
make sense?
And another key point about chains is that I don't want to say they're apolitical, but when you're wearing the chain, you're representing the council.
That's a great point.
So you wouldn't wear a chain, for example, to a party political event.
Absolutely.
It would be inappropriate. Or you wouldn't wear a chain to when you're out canvassing, you know.
Or to bed.
Yeah. Or, you know, you would only wear it when you're representing the council at an official event.
Exactly.
So you're representing the whole of Carlow County Council, or, you know, the whole of the Tullow Municipal if you're wearing it for there.
That's a really interesting point, because you do get, so you could have somebody who's just opened a new business, let's say for talk's sake, in the middle of Tullow. So Ward's Fruit and Veg are having a relaunch,
Okay.
right? And Ben Ward is Cahirlock, and they want you to cut the ribbon on their relaunch of the shop.
Well, you could do that, could you?
Well, so here's the question. So the
Yeah.
protocol should actually outline, if you're invited by this, now maybe the protocol should be that the shop writes to the council and says, we would like the Cahirlock to, whereas what tends to happen, Carlow's a very small place, what tends to happen is the shop will reach out to the local councillor if they happen to be Cahirlock and say, would you come and cut the ribbon for us, type
Yeah.
thing. So what do you think? Is that something that should be rigid and say, oh no, you're going to have to go through the council and get an official?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because is that an official event? You know, because it's kind of, well, for this example, you know, it's a private business, you know, so I actually don't know. I've never thought about that, but I suppose that's the whole point of this motion that's going before the
Exactly.
council, is to
Tighten
try
all
and
that
get
up, yep.
clarification on complete protocol, where these should be worn, by who, when, all the rest. So I think that's the kind of purpose behind the motion. And again, we should have said that a motion is just a councillor putting down basically
an
a
idea,
question, an ask, an idea to the county council about something that they think should be done. So that's what's happening with this one. But yeah,
And it's a good example of how, like, I think if you're someone at the moment who's maybe struggling with an ESB bill, or if your kids are about to be on holidays from school and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get them minded, and you've all these pressures going on in your life, the last thing you're going to give a damn about is chains of office and why are these councillors talking about it on a podcast, and why is it on an agenda? But when you start to think about the practical applications of where a chain comes in and like that, well, now Is it appropriate? Say if I was to here, look, and I got invited to open up some, I don't know, pornography shop or something, you know, you'd like to think that a councillor would have the sense not to go and do something that would be inappropriate, but having a protocol eliminates all that and takes the pressure off the particular politician who, if they felt uncomfortable, say, oh no, well actually it's against the protocol, whereas I'm not actually sure if we have a protocol around the chains. So
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a good emotion. Like it's going to clarify all that type of stuff. So
definitely.
I think that's
Definitely.
We'll see where the outcome of that comes.
Yeah. Moving on to on the agenda. So we've different segments in the podcast. So we've the jargon jar, we've notions of emotions, and this is our on the agenda. So this is kind of our I suppose our main topic of the episode, and we want to talk a little bit about kind of elections in general. Now, I don't know, maybe most people tune out until the week of an actual election and maybe don't pay much attention, but maybe we start with how you first of all, for local elections, so for councillors to be elected, there is a local elections every 5 years.
Yeah. And I suppose one thing as well that I've seen recently is people, like Ireland has a certain type of like electoral system here.
Oh, yeah.
You know, where we rank people.
Wait till I get my pen out and get ready to mark the jargon jar. Go on.
No, I'm going to say this in very non-jargony language. Okay, so we have a type of elections here where we rank people on how best. Sorry, the pen is stressing me out there. You're ready to write down anything. I'm choosing my words very carefully here. Okay, where we rank people based on how much we like them or want their policies.
Damn it.
Implemented.
Yeah.
So anyone who's really voted here will probably know this. You know, you go in, you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like sometimes there's like 20 people.
What's it called, Ben? What's it called? What's that system called?
I'm not telling you what it's called.
Oh, I'll save you. So PRSTV.
Yeah.
So you're not. I'm saving you there, so you're not marking me down for jargon. But now I did a TikTok on this during the local elections, which you probably didn't even watch. But I thought the best way to explain it was to compare it to a different system. So in the UK, they use first past the post. If you even think about marking it down for that. No, so the difference being...
See, on that one, you could have said, on first past the post, you could have said they use whoever gets the most votes wins. So first past the post is jargon.
Yeah.
So I'm putting you down. You're on 5. Continue.
Yeah. No, this is a Gen Z thing. Okay, right. So in the UK, for example, when you run for election in the UK, there's usually only one position available, one seat, right? Whereas in our system, when you're running for election, there's usually multiple seats available, multiple positions available. Now, the one caveat to that is the by-elections recently in Dublin and Galway, there was only one position available, but we still use the 1, 2, 3, 4 system. So to sum it up in one sentence in terms of the systems, the way it works is if you're voting in the local elections, in Carlow, for example, if you're living in the Tullow area, at the moment there are 6 positions available, and if there's 10 people running, you can go in and pick 1 to 10 in order of your choice.
Exactly, yeah. And so, for example, on that example, if there's 10 people running, ultimately only 6 of them will get elected. So 4 won't. But even if someone put their number 1 vote for some of those 4 people who didn't get elected, their 2s, their second preferences, their 3rds, 4th may be used to determine, you know, where the other people come in the election.
And arguably that system is fairer than the one in the UK, because if you went in and voted for someone running in for election in the UK and they don't get the most amount of votes, well, now you have had no say. Your views potentially aren't being represented. Yeah. Even though I guarantee the person who gets elected will say, I will be the MP for everybody.
Yeah. But the key point on that is, like, some people in the UK can win an election on, you know, 15 or 20% of the vote.
Yeah.
You know, they'll be, which you can get elected here on 15 or 20%, but you'll be one of 5 or
Yes.
4. But you can get elected on a first past the post in England,
Yeah.
you know, and it happens in other countries like the presidential election,
Yeah.
you know, or wherever. But by having 15% of the vote, because no one else got more than 15, some of them had 11, 10, 9%. So the people with the most votes has 15%, and then that one person with 15% will be the only person to represent the whole constituency.
Yeah.
Whereas here, some people will get 10, 15, 8, and 7%, and all of them people will be elected because they'll have
The combination of
the
others,
combination, yeah.
So, it's an interesting system, and I genuinely I believe ours is the fairest.
Yeah, and
Well-
sorry, where I was going with that is that I see some people in the recent by-election, for example, in Galway West, you know, they said something like, what's his name, the Independent Ireland guy got
Noel
10,000,
Thomas.
yeah, got 10,000 first preferences. He topped the poll, so he should have won. You know, which is, okay, maybe that is a genuine political opinion where you think Ireland should have a first past the post system. Now, they didn't put it in those terms
Yeah.
because I think it was genuinely because they just didn't understand or know about the system that we have. Because even though Sean Kine, the Fine Gael candidate, got the second most first preference votes, he actually got more votes because more people gave him seconds,
Yeah.
thirds, fourth preferences. So they mightn't have wanted him number 1,
Yeah.
but more people overall wanted him
Yeah.
than wanted Noel Thomas. So as I say, maybe that is a genuine opinion. You think there should be just a first past the post. Whoever gets the most, that's it.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting after the by-election. I hadn't seen that before, but people were kind of maybe questioning the system.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing that the our system allows is, like, generally speaking, people in Ballin will probably vote for you before they vote for me. Generally speaking, people in Rathvilly might vote for me before they vote for you, right? And if you have a large urban centre, then say like Tullow, and you've a candidate and you only have one position available, and Tullow has 5,000 people,
Yeah.
Rathvilly has 1,500, and Ballin has 1,800, whatever the case is. Well, now the person in the large urban centre has potentially access to, or is the local guy for way more people, and so how do you balance that? And PRSTV is a way of doing it.
Exactly.
So,
And you see that even in the Tullow MD, where it just naturally, in a way, the
Yeah.
councillors are spread out
Yeah.
throughout like to a certain extent, as much as you can be, but they're pretty spread out throughout the area
Yeah.
because of how the preferences work. And if you only had one councillor for the Tullow MD, most likely they'd be in Tullow.
Yeah, but you'd have one council representing like 20,000 people, which would be an insane workload.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So that's how it works for a local election, but it's also pretty similar for a general election, just
Yeah.
on a bigger scale.
exactly.
You know, for example, in the Tullow MD, there's 20,000 people, but in the Carlow Kilkenny constituency, I'm going to say there's like 160,000. There's 60,000 people in Carlow anyway.
Yeah,
Is there 100,000 in Kilkenny?
Yeah, it was a little over. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just the same thing on a bigger scale.
Yeah, actually, interesting point. Part of Kilkenny was shaved off into Tipperary at the last general election around Urlingford, and that part, because Carlow and Kilkenny together actually had too many people for a 5-seater. So, and Tipperary was falling just short of their 2 3-seaters. So,
Yeah.
anyway, we'll talk about seaters another day. But
Yeah.
talking about so how does somebody run for election? I often wonder, do people think that, you know, do you have to be chosen? Do you have to have studied it? Do you have to whatever? And the last local election actually was a great example of how literally, if you decide you want to run, you can run. You pay a €100 deposit, and then if you get enough votes, you'll get your €100 back afterwards. But if you when it comes to a local election year, so that'll be 2029, if you decide, you know what, Brian and Ben are absolutely useless, they'd rather do a podcast than actually do some council work, you can actually say, you know what, I'm going to give that a go, and there'll be notices in the council offices and libraries and online where you'll be advised you must lodge your intent to run by such and such a date. You pay €100, and then you're literally on the ticket. It's a little bit different for people in a political party. You have to get the nomination from that party, but anybody, once you're over the age of 18, you can decide, I'm going to run and run your own campaign. And it's much simpler than I think people maybe realise.
Yeah, and I think as well, people don't realise how lucky we are to have that system, because like there's almost no barrier to being able to run for election in Ireland. Almost no barrier. I mean, anyone can pretty much do it. And there's also almost very little influence from, you know, big business and money in Irish politics. Now, people probably will disagree with me on that. They'll think, oh God, no. But when you actually compare it to other countries, the relationship between money and elections in Ireland is actually very small. You know, like usually in America,
it wasn't always the case, of course, but
well, yeah, maybe. But at the moment, like in America, for example, like the only way to win an election is if you have millions of dollars in backing. Like you can win, like my campaign here, like the only cost, and I was lucky that I was in a party, like, and they paid for the posters and the leaflets. But other than that, the only cost to me was my time, that I would just go out and campaign on every single door that I possibly could in the area, maybe a bit of petrol, you know, driving around and things like that. But overall, my spend, I think, was €1,000 for the election, which was paid for the leaflets and posters. Are you writing down jargon?
No, I'm not. Well, I should, because you were flirting with the line there. No, I'll tell you what. I'm a little newsflash for you. All your posters were paid for because you were a first-time councillor. Next time round, it won't be the same.
Okay, right. That is a newsflash for me.
It's kind of like when, you know, if you're going into like buy a new phone with a new company, like and like, oh well, you can have a free phone if you, right, and so the companies treat new customers like they're the bee's knees, but their existing customers can go be damned. You know what I mean? And it's going to be the same now for you in 2029. You're no longer a newbie. You'll be running again, hopefully, and you'll be paying for at least a portion of your own posters. Anyway,
can't wait for that.
So we kind of highlighted there that if you decide in the morning, if you're doing your leaving cert this week, is it leaving cert still on? Was it last week? Yeah. If you're doing your leaving cert this week and you decide, you know what, I don't know what career I want. I don't necessarily want to go to college, but you know what, I'll take a couple of years out, and then 2029 I'll run for the council, right?
Sounds similar to me.
€100 is all you need, and you can get on the ticket. And there's as you said, there's no barrier. If you are somebody who is a passionate political party supporter, so whether you're a Fine Gael supporter, Fianna Fáil supporter, Sinn Féin, People Before Profit, Social Democrats, Labour, Green Party, Independent Ireland, and all the other alphabet soups that are out there, it's a little bit different. And each party will have their own variation of the rules, but generally speaking, it usually comes down to either the party might approach you and say, we'd like to nominate you, but there has to be an official process gone through. And invariably what tends to happen within a party is a couple of different people will say, well, I want to run, and so now you have to have a, get ready to mark it down,
convention.
Jargon.
It is jargon, but there was probably no other way to say it. Well, a contest.
Yeah.
Which is basically where, for example, Fine Gael might decide we're running, which they did, we're running 3 people in the Tullow Municipal District, and 5 people might come along and say, well, we all want to do that. So how do you decide? The members of the party in that local area will come together. The potential candidates will have their speeches and their kind of position to put forward, and ultimately the members of that area will vote. And I'm pretty sure it's similar with all parties, and that's kind of where the influence of being a member of a party comes in, because you can kind of shape who is your candidates and kind of how you believe the party should be. So you often hear in parties like, you know, most parties in Ireland are pretty broad church. So, and Fine Gael is, there's lots of people who have so many different views in the party, and if you're a member of the party, you can kind of shape the way you think the party should be going. Yes, by voting in like a convention.
That's a great point. And it also there's a theory out there, I think, with some people that, you know, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil, they will pick who they want to run, right? But to further your idea there, how many times has it happened where the party, maybe headquarters, does have somebody that they want to run, but the local membership gets their backs up and says, no, we want it to be Ben, or we want it to be Brian. And so the HQ pick and the members pick both arrive on the night, and the members, they want to give a kick to HQ because they're not happy with having somebody foisted on them. So
well, we've seen a perfect example of that recently in Dublin Central, even though Mary Lou claims it wasn't.
Oh yeah,
but I mean, she did, as far as I can see from the media, tried to get, can't think of her name, but a lady.
Sharat, yeah. Can't think of her first name. Sharat. Her poor son had passed away with scoliosis.
I think she tried, and the HQ tried to have her as the candidate, but the members on the ground chose Janice Boylan, who's a councillor there in Dublin,
and a councillor a long time, and working hard as all the councillors do.
So ultimately, it was democratic, where the members decided who the candidate was.
Yeah.
Before, you don't have to be a member of the party before if you want to go to try and be a candidate.
And we had it in Fine Gael actually before your time, back in 2015 when Phil Hogan became a commissioner, and there had to be a by-election, and our great colleague David Fitzgerald wanted to run, but HQ wanted the former IFA president John Bryan to be the candidate. Now, John was a very, very impressive guy. Like, he was a brilliant IFA president, and I remember at the convention he spoke really, really well. But the membership backed David, and David ended up in the nomination. So it happens in all parties. It's not just I think against the Shinners or anything. But no, and I suppose so. In actual fact, it's more difficult if you see somebody on the ticket for a political party running for election. They've gone through usually a fairly intense process to get to that point, whereas the person who rocks up and pays €100 has a much easier access to run, but they don't have the financial backing then of, and that's where being in a party is really beneficial. And
just on that point that we were talking about earlier on about the electoral system, so once you are a candidate, you go out and you start canvassing, which, again, it's a word that people might not know. So canvassing is basically you're going out and you're trying to convince people to vote for you. But what I think the good thing about our system is there's many doors that I came to and people said, oh no, there was a man here yesterday and I promised him my number one. Yeah. And I said, that's okay. I will take your number two.
Yeah.
But the only way or the best way to get those number twos, threes, even I've seen 4s, 5s and 6s, which we've seen in the last local 100%. Election matter, is to not be incredibly divisive or incredibly towards one side or the other. Mm-hmm. To be a kind of common approach to just not be too extreme.
A brilliant example of that is Bertie Ahern in was it the 1997 or the 2002 election? He had a running mate, Cyprian Brady.
Okay.
And now I don't know the numbers, but Bertie was a very popular Taoiseach at the time or whatever, and so say he got 10,000 first preferences, right? And Royston Brady, I think, only got 800 or 900 votes, but he got 9,000 number twos.
Oh, really?
And so even though only 800 people wanted him as a first preference, Bertie's support was so vast that he easily carried. And in fairness, not too far away from me, my good friend Edward Timmins got a lot of transfers from Simon Harris into Wicklow constituency. So it's a great, as fair as and as nice as we talk about the PRS-TV system, where the party machines will kick in, and not just Fine Gael, but all of them, is they will try and strategically find candidates in strategic areas and say, well, okay, we'll run Ben there, and actually, do you know what, if we were to run Brian there, geographically they're positioned well, and it's a way of, I won't say manipulating, but it is a way of working the system to best suit your particular party's goal of getting people elected, like, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you want to ask about
Well,
sorry,
about what?
canvassing?
Yeah, well, I just, on that point of like, you know, we're out canvassing, like you can, it's so funny. Like I remember, I'll never forget to this day, the first door that I knocked on ever.
Right.
And I just kind of thought, like, what am I doing? I am a random stranger going up and knocking on someone's door and just starting talking to them.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm not just going to do this with one person. I'm going to do this to hundreds of people, like maybe thousands. I actually don't know how many people I met, but it's just I feel like it's such a unique situation. You come across the most random of things. Like I have been in sheds, in farmyards, like I have been on tractors, I've been in estates and houses where dogs are running after you and you're, you know, just...
I changed a tyre one day in the middle of canvassing.
That must have got you to vote. Number
well,
one.
I hope so.
So have you had any completely random or crazy canvassing stories?
Loads. I remember a guy who I've had a lot of time for. I remember canvassing. I won't say the area or anything. I'll say it's Colin. Great guy, but basically he his pigeons. He keeps pigeons, racing pigeons, you know, and he gave me a tour. Anyway, long story short, there was a sparrowhawk or a buzzard in the field next door, and he was having a real problem with letting his pigeons out because the buzzard or whatever was chasing them, killing them, eating them, whatever buzzards do. And he was like, is there anything I can do about it? And I was like, wow, I expected to be asked about streetlights and potholes and like housing and planning and all these things, but you just don't expect to be asked about like how can I tackle this this problem with a buzzard now? You know, there was a whole campaign to try and, or a whole, what do you call it? Oh, who would dare ring me? But there's a whole thing to try and get buzzards back into the country, and here was a guy going, how do I get rid of this buzzard, like, you know? So that was one random.
Well, did you solve the buzzard?
What was nothing I could do, unfortunately, but but he still has racing pigeons and does really well with them. So,
but this is the point. You could come to a door, and who would have thought you would be asked about how to get this buzzard away? So, you know, you come across the most random things. But I noticed there you mentioned about you expected to hear about planning. Yeah. So I think moving on to our policy or prophecy.
Oh yeah.
My first one is this, which is councillors can get you your planning permission.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Which is
absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah, 100%. And if you want planning, you come to Bod. Sort it out.
But we know it's not. And it's very similar to our one that we had last week about councillors can get you a house.
Yeah. We can try and influence and we can try and support. But there are rules and there are guidelines and there's regulations, and if you meet them, chances are you get your plan in. If you don't, you're going to have a battle. But I suppose where I think a councillor is important when it comes to, say, someone applying to build a one-off house in Northern Ireland, is the councillor being able to go in and make a submission and be able to I suppose vouch for the people and say, look, I can tell you that, you know, these people are who they say they are, and you know, John, you know, he was in school with me and he played football with me, and he absolutely needs to have a house in this area, like, you know.
And I think there's two ways the councillors can get involved with planning. It's exactly that. I think it's given the context, because the planners that are making the decisions often just don't know the people that the application is for. Now maybe that's right or wrong, I don't know, but we can give it's probably right, but we can give the context. For example, oh no, I know her, she's a local teacher, so she does have a rural need, for example. But the other way then is, you mentioned there's regulations and policies and all this, but some of which we don't have control over, but some we do, where I know the one example about not granting, we have in the county development plan about not granting planning permission in upland areas for
various reasons.
And
We don't go talk about the turbines, no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, things like that, you know, for example, and that's something that I wasn't there at the time, but I think the councillors at the time decided that they didn't want to see planning permissions, for example, up on the Black Stairs,
Exactly.
you know, so that's something they would put into the development plan or the policy. But when a planning permission came along, it wouldn't be the councillor making the decision.
100%.
It would be the planner, based on that policy that the councillor kind of put in place.
That's a brilliant point. And the thing is about, you mentioned county development plan, and I'm putting you down for jargon
Yeah,
for
I thought I was going to get that one true, but
very simply, county development plan is basically where the council designs a 5 or 6 year plan that says, here is what can be built in this county for the next 5 or 6 years. And within that plan, it's just wall to wall full of contradictions, because and that's the way it has to be, and then every single application can be considered on its own merits, and there'll often be something that you will say, well, this here contradicts this, and that's where a councillor can say, well, no, in fairness, Dad, look, you know, for example, it could be something around maybe a new entrance, and maybe on a particular road, maybe a new entrance isn't supposed to be permitted, but well, in actual fact, that entrance there is for I don't know, an agricultural entrance or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I can't go, no, I can, and just add, like what you said, add the context to it, like, you know.
So let's hear your first policy or prophecy.
Well, so and this week we decided not to tell each other beforehand. My first one was a plan on
No way.
Yeah. So right, Ben, policy or prophecy. Councillors can county councils can build whatever they want, wherever they want, whenever they want, and just give themselves permission.
Prophecy.
Correct.
Yes. But I was hesitant because the one thing that the county councils can give themselves planning permission. Well, I suppose the councillors can give the council planning permission. That's the kind of one thing I was thinking about. I don't know if that's where you were going with this.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Via a thing called, and you can mark me down, Part 8.
That's
jargon. Okay.
jargon.
So, very simply, don't worry about Part 8. Basically, what it's simply a mechanism that if the county council wants to build something, construct something, put something somewhere, and they need something that needs planning permission, they have to go through a whole process, and the name of that process is Part 8, and it's basically where the council will draw up the plans. It goes out on public consultation for 8 weeks, and any member of the public can make a comment and say, I'm against this, I'm for this, or I'm for this, but I don't like this element of it. And then that comes back, and a report is generated, it's put in front of the councillors, and it's, okay, here's what the public have said, there seems to be support for this, put it to a vote, and then the councillors can pass it, and then the planning permission is granted.
Yeah, and that's a good example of the kind of difference between the council and the councillors.
Yes.
Because you have to have that bit of separation there, because
100%.
it's the council who want this planning permission. It's usually something public, like let's say they're a swimming pool.
Yeah.
And the councillors, who are a bit separate, will have to decide and grant it. So I guess your original thing is a prophecy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So my second one that I have is that councillors are a full-time job. And it sounds funny to us, maybe, but a lot of people think that we are full-time politicians.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
Prophecy.
A major prophecy.
Yeah.
So,
Like there are councillors who do it as their main thing, but it's certainly not designed to be a full-time job, and it's not something that it was intended to be a full-time job.
yeah.
Now,
So, for example, like, I've been in it 2 years now. Throughout that, I've been finishing my last year of the undergraduate and doing my master's. And you've been working in a full-time job, while also being a councillor.
Yeah.
So,
No, and like back in 2015 or 2016, I tried to give it a go as a full time, and literally couldn't pay the bills with it, so I had to get a a second job to go with it, and it makes it really, really hard, because you've maybe somebody who is also working and has an issue, or they're trying to get planning or whatever, and they're trying to find a bit of time in their day to contact you, and then you have to try and find a bit of time in your day to come back to them, and it's very tricky. We're getting close on time, but don't worry, that started late, so we're okay. But so massive prophecy there. But like, I suppose the like a councillor's wage for councillors now get paid about 30 grand for the year. When I first started, it was 16 and a half thousand euros. So like it has improved. It has improved. But like the work has got, there's never been more work and more meetings to attend, and there's more demands on the councillor's time. And I don't know, there's not one of my friends would run for election and do the job for the remuneration that's there. And to be honest with you, I don't know a single person that gets involved in politics for the pay, because people that do this is because they want to get stuff done, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I have one before we finish up.
Yeah.
Right, this is a good one now. Policy or prophecy? In Ireland, all bicycles must have a bell.
Oh. Policy?
Policy, yeah.
Is it?
Legally, every single bike is supposed to have a bell.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. It's supposed to have a bell. Now, very few, I think, actually do anymore. But legally, your bike must have a bell.
That is a good one. So you could get pulled over from the guards because you don't have a bell.
A bell in your bike, yeah.
That is a good one.
I think it's the first time we've had that's actually been a policy.
Yeah. Policy. Wow. You learn something every day.
Yeah. So we don't have time really to go to our any other business, which is our other segment, but maybe we'll come back to that another day. Maybe talk
because
about
I suppose this week as well we didn't get our question box up, so next week we'll get our questions up so people can put in the audience can put in their questions. You can either put it in through the social media channels, or you can email us on throughthechairpodcast@gmail.com. Any question whatsoever about local politics, councils, anything like that you might be into. Us councillors,
Ben's haircut,
my haircut, which isn't bad right now.
It's horrendous. I know. So that's it for episode 2. If you're loving or hating us, let us know. We can take it. The email again is throughthechairpodcast@gmail.com. THROUGH. Throughthechairpodcast@gmail.com. Ask us a question. Give us a topic to discuss. We want to hear from you.
You've been listening to Through the Chair with Ben and Brian. Follow the show on all social platforms to stay up to date.